Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of Drag from the Left, your weekly digital series where we discuss RuPaul's Drag Race and relevant social issues from a radical leftist perspective. This is a pro-Black podcast. This is a Black Trans Lives Matter podcast. This is a Fuck the Police podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, the very Reverend Dr. Juanita Bind'Em.
And I am Avery. My drag name this week is Tired. I don't got time to be creative, just tired.
You know what? I love it. I really love it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just hop into what's going on. Professor, let us know what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a very personal thing, I think probably for the both of us today. So I want to talk about the microscopic policing of a person, expression, and Blackness. Right. I want to talk about how respectability politics affects our real material conditions when we don't adhere to them. I want to talk about anti-fatness, anti-Blackness, and how we must do better to our fat Black people. Right, brothers, sisters, and
everybody else.
Nibblings. I think that's the gender neutral term for siblings. All right. I'm going to talk about Silky Nutmeg Ganache. Right. And let me be the first, before we even get into it, I would be the first to say I did not see it for her in season 11. You know me. When someone does too much, or I feel like it's too much, I'm just like, okay, girl, let's calm down. Everybody relax. Like, it's going to be okay. Right? It is going to be all right. Let's just take a chill. But I tell you that sometimes.
You
like, it's going
in this
to be
constant
okay.
state of relaxation.
Like,
I've never been there. I don't know her. I only know many people suffer from it.
It's not a constant state of relaxation, but it's just, I have my own anxiety and my own issues. But when someone else is projecting that, I'm like, all right, y'all. Let's just take a breather. It's gonna be okay.
Because
We're gonna get it together.
Me out.
Yes. And then if I get too stressed out, I'm not gonna be no good to nobody, not even myself. So I'm better at calming other people down than I'm calming myself down, of course. But yeah, I'll be the first to say, like, she did a lot. But I also said that she was very talented. And her doing a lot is what kept her around.
Yeah, she was a finale queen.
For the most part, right? It was her personality is what she gave. It wasn't her, like, her person was a part of her drag, which is what kept her in the competitions for so long, right? But, the backlash from that, people were saying she was doing too much. She sucked all the air out the room. She never gave anybody a chance to speak or have opportunity to shine, right? And that, affected her relationships with the fan base, her relationships with other drag queens, and her relationships with promoters and people that do booking.
Her livelihood, like
her money, her bag, right? Every part of her life, the way she was perceived was affected, right? And that is not absent of her being fat, her being Black,
her being flamboyantly gay,
her being a gender queer presenting. I think he uses he him pronouns, but
right.
They like their hair is pressed and they wear traditionally feminine clothing, right? Dresses and rompers and stuff. So of course we know how desirability affects how you are treated and not only how you're treated, but like how much money you make, if you make any money at all, and things like that. So Silky shared that, and the reason why she was toning it down, and I've also seen like Twitter discourse, and people was like, Silky is really like chill. She's not doing as much as she usually does. It's not what I expected from her. And that was very intentional on her part because she didn't want to do the same things that, got her negative feedback in season 11.
We teach Blacks to shrink themselves.
Come on. And that's what
to
Silky
make
did.
themselves smaller.
And that's what Silky
so
did.
So that the Blacks can, we say the Blacks can have ambition, but not too much ambition.
Not too much, because it'll affect
the whites.
Right. And it'll affect my privilege. It'll affect how highly think, because if this fat Black bitch can think she the shit and she can walk into any room and own this shit, what does that say about me? Right, Toni Morrison said it best. Like, what are you without your whiteness? Are you any good? You any smart? Are you interesting?
Right. What do you have?
Right, and I don't think they know. So when they see someone like a Silky, who is fat, Black, and confident in their person, they're like, what does that mean for me?
Well, that type of presentation that even in the process of like, we're all discovering thine self. That is something that is like always ongoing, specifically in the world that we live in. We're always fighting and thriving and scratching to become more free, more open, more like realized. Mm-hmm. But when we see somebody who's like doing that work and in that process, that is frightening to someone because like to quote my friend Kara Lee in her TED Talk, you have threatened the entire power structure of the Western world when you've done that.
Absolutely.
They thrive off you feeling the opposite.
Yeah.
And they need you to stay that way.
Right.
Right. And I would say that Silky's methods of being the hostess with the mostest, because she is also a reverend doctor.
Yes.
Siblings in that way, that was successful for her.
Absolutely.
She had 3 challenge wins, I think, on her season. Mm-hmm. She survived a really meh lip sync and then came back in the finale and let you all know that I can do what I need to do.
Right.
Because she gave a very good lip sync in the finale.
Mm-hmm.
We knew Brooklyn was probably going to take it, but nonetheless, she went out there and she picked competition to go against. She could have picked Akira, and she probably would have beat Akira and then been in the top 2.
Right. Right.
But she picked Brooklyn. So that is disappointing. And this is also somebody who is hardworking, to attempt and succeed at higher education is not something that is easy, particularly for a Black person, particularly for a Black queer fat person. There are additional boundaries that are put into place for you, and they made their way through graduate school. And I think they might even be on their way to doctoral studies. So this is a hardworking individual, somebody who does, I think, have a fully actualized sense of self. But entering this competition, they have seen that being their self has repercussions. In order to make themselves fit and be successful in this world of Drag Race, which again is just a snapshot of Cleveland, Ohio, America, the entire world, specifically the Western world, she had to come up with a different game plan. And as we're seeing, if you all are keeping up with the season, because I know some of you just listen to us, but if you're keeping up with the season, Silky is not performing very well. They're either giving very middle of the road, or bottom, and not like power bottom.
No, not bottom in a good way.
Not in the way that we like to salute our bottoms.
Right.
And I would say, and let me know if you agree, that is mostly due to the fact that Silky is not being themselves.
Absolutely. She has reduced herself in a way to try to make herself palatable to the majority white fandom of Drag Race. And, we as Black people know there's nothing we can do. There's no way we can dress. No matter how many degrees we have, no matter how nice we smell or how nice our hair is cut, white people gonna hate us anyway because that's what they do. There's no amount of respectability politics you can adhere to make it work, which is why we, are completely adverse to respectability politics, because they do not work. And their reduction of self. You're not living your fully realized life. You're not fully being yourself when you're adhering to white power structures and how to fit neatly in them, right? So I want to juxtapose Silky and her personality to someone like Jan or Laganja.
Right.
And this is very timely because Laganja was just on the show. Which I have shit to say about that too.
We'll get there, honey.
We'll get there. So I think that Jan and Silky, personality-wise, are pretty similar. Like, Jan is on 11 and she admits that. Like, Jan frequently, not all the time, but she frequently sucks all the air out the room with her toxic positivity. Like, yeah, guys, let's do it. Right. But
she's really good at making the story about herself. For example, in her original season, which was 12, right?
Yes.
When Britta Filter got eliminated, all of a sudden it was about, I'm so sad because that was my
friend.
Like, okay, girl.
It's not about you, Jan.
Okay, girl.
Right. But Jan is white. She is thin. She is conventionally desirable. Keyword being conventionally.
Yeah, because I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah. And she adheres to white middle class sensibilities, right? So her being on 10 is fine. Like, I'm the positive one. I'm here. I am a team player, right? That's how she is perceived. But someone like Silky, who is on 10 as well, sometimes on 11 or 12, it's like she does too much. She sucks all the air out the room. She never gets anyone.
She need to stop. Speak. I don't know why she be doing all of that. It's not necessary.
Right. Same with Laganja and her black scent. She is more at a 10 or 11 than Jan or Silky, in my opinion. Right. Wait, yes, mama, yes, God.
And she came back and she didn't change herself not one bit. If anything, she came back and she gave you she gave you an all-stars performance of what she was before.
She gave you an all-stars caricature.
I am yes, mama. I am yes, God. Okay. Now, I do think that maybe she has turned her accent down a little bit, but what she has turned down in accent, she has turned up in verbiage.
Yeah, the vernacular is there, baby. And yes, mama, tongue pop. Like, we talked about Black Sense last season.
Check out our Reading is Fundamental on Instagram.
I think we talked about like episode 1, actually. Our very first episode, we talked about Black Sense, right? And Laganja's one of those people who does a lot, sucks all the air out the room. Like, thankfully, she was in a competition with someone like Bianca, who checked her. Like, at every
somebody need to check Bianca
turn.
sometime too.
Exactly. But yeah, so like if you juxtapose those people, you understand, you can like start to kind of delineate why certain people are perceived, right? And it has a lot to do with desirability. I also want to juxtapose Silky to Trinity, right? Trinity K. Bonet, not Trinity the Tuck. Trinity the Tuck has come in and been there on Authentic Self, right? With every emotion.
K. Bonet.
Yeah. Right. When we saw that this past week, right? Which I felt her on that. A lot of people was like, bitch, y'all say congratulations to everybody else. Say congratulations to me first. Like,
yeah.
I mean, at least not first, but at some point acknowledge the fact that I won a challenge. But anyway, right. Been her fully authentic self, right? Has not toned down anything. And we see, even though she tweeted that the edit is not a factor here, but we see how she has been edited to look like she's doing too much, to look crazy, to look overly emotional. But I love the fact that she owns it. Like, I'm an emotional person. I'm not apologizing for that shit. Like, it just is what it is, right? So Silky toning it down as opposed to Trinity not toning anything down and being unapologetic about herself, right? And then we see how she has been edited through these first like 3 episodes, right? So I was going to say it's interesting, but it's a little disheartening, right? To see Silky talk about that, to discuss how this affected her bag and her, like, not even her bag, but like her personality. She seemed depleted. She seemed like a little less silky behind this.
Wouldn't you feel an additional level of burden when, like, example, when I was in like my early 20s, I worked at a high-end retailer. Mm-hmm. And people always, ask about what that experience was like. And me and all my friends worked there. It was like the gig when you were in college to work here. Like, you made quote unquote good money in comparison. Like, at that point in my life, I hadn't seen checks that had that much money. I had never worked that hard either, because they work you like, okay.
Yeah.
There's definitely a correlation between high-end retail and slave work. Now, just leave that there.
Yeah. That's another episode.
But people asked, me about that experience. And it was like, well, I kind of expect the customer base to be nasty, vile, flippant, racist, all the isms, but like my coworkers, people who also existed in the world like me, there was like this like very negative, because it's like commission-based work. So like everything is like competition. People are nasty and short and do things that are like underhanded to try to push their way to the top.
Right.
So it feels different. Like, your feelings don't be the same type of hurt from the customers that it be from like people on your team. And Silky like made it very clear to us. It was like, I got this from colleagues too. Like, people that I was on the show with, people that I'm existing the franchise with, people who I have to work with were not interested in having proximity to me.
Right.
So where do you leave a person after that? Like, what are they to do?
Yeah.
Other than shrink themselves. And particularly for fat people in the world, and you and I both exist in the fat experience. Mm-hmm. And I think both of us also understand that privilege works in a very like in a variety of different ways, and that us being marginalized as fat people may look different than another person being marginalized as a fat person. And right. I won't like conflate that experience with someone else's, but we know what it's like to be discriminated against for how our physical being, the space that we physically take up, our matter,
Absolutely.
And we tell fat people that they have to be smaller in everywhere that they go.
Right. Not only physically, but like spiritually,
yeah,
like emotionally, like condensed.
And like when that would cause some type of friction, inside that stuff. And
absolutely.
Silky, just in case you are not aware of our slight format change, we get into the get down from the jump. So there are spoilers sprinkled throughout because that is the only way that we can have the conversation that you all deserve to hear,
right?
And for us to have. So on the runway, Silky, Rue wants to know, because Rue is Dr. Phil.
Apparently.
Wants
fracking version.
Okay. Freaking frack. And wants to know what's going on.
Right.
And, they're just like, I'm very uncomfortable here. I'm having a hard time. And I have never felt this way before in my life. Mm-hmm. This is a brand new experience for them that they're having at a place that should be very familiar, a place that they once dominated.
Right.
And I can't say that these type of behaviors are not done purposely. Like, it feels intentional, like a tactic of the oppressor because it's war tactic. It has worked. We don't want to see this at the top. So we will do any and everything to make sure that this person cannot succeed. But yet the blame is placed on Silky because and this is what the narrative is already setting up in the confessionals. Because when they're already setting us up for a comeback, so we have to emotionally scar and traumatize this person who already exists in the world as a monthly marginalized person to advance our storyline. Yes. First and foremost, like, that's fucked,
Right. But very Drag Race.
But I don't see them doing the same to Jan. Jan's just not winning, but they're not making her on a fundamental level rethink the fabric of her being.
Yeah. That's somebody you probably should be asking questions to,
because there's something going on there. Who are you? Because if you're judging on that, and that's on our case, I don't want to talk too much about Jan, but also that's another reason why we know that Jan is not successful, because there is strengths. Although she is too much, Silky is a lot, and that is okay. But Silky is a lot within a very specific brand of self. We know what Silky is,
and more so, Silky knows what Silky is.
Exactly.
Right, and we said this last week. Jan, I don't think Jan knows who Jan is, which is why, again, she falls back on the.
Well, I think
being on 11 all the time.
She can be one of those, and people probably go clock me for saying this, but Jan is really like the poster child for that narrative of like, I was not good enough to make it in these other spaces, so then I'm going to come and do drag.
Yeah, I feel this.
Her drag doesn't feel. And people may disagree with that. And a similar comment was made about Rosé, has been made about Rosé.
That's what I was going to say, but let me not say that.
And even Denali, although, which I think since people have felt different once we've got to really see Denali's heart on how they existed post Drag Race on social media, right? And then when we see the type of like how they produce their own things, like, I still think their style is tacky, but like they're more an authentic, drag performer, where it feels like, okay, there's like articles and scholarships on this about like having the BFA and being a drag queen. Something you fall back on instead of actually being authentically interested. Like, this is your. Well, it feels very formulaic. Something about Jan's drag is very formula driven.
That's what it is. Like, it's a template, and it has to fit the template, because outside of that box, it's uncomfortable territory for her. And because this is not her, like, I wouldn't say primary art form, but this isn't really her thing. This is really her kick. She don't really know what to do outside that box. It has to fit that template, but the template don't work.
No, it don't really.
And this is actually a good segue talking about Jan, even though I don't want to spend too much time on her. But I want to talk about American politeness culture, right? People might not have heard of that term, but I'm certain you know what I mean when you hear American politeness culture, right? It falls within this realm of respectability politics. It falls within this realm of the American dream, right? It's a factor of that, right? It falls within this realm of detextualizing history from, lived experiences in your person, right? And how that affects your everyday life.
It's the same reason why they're like removing critical race theory from education, even though it was never really a part of it in the first place.
It's the same reason why they keep saying post-racial America.
Because it makes you uncomfortable to tell the truth. But it's okay long as we say please and thank you and excuse me and
but it's so contrived and it's so artificial, and we know that because the second you piss a white person off, the first thing that comes out their mouth is a nigger with the hard ER. Like the first thing, or
it's like
it's a porch monkey.
It's the most swift metamorphosis that you will ever witness in your life. The minute that you piss a white person off, they make it known.
For what it is, you even gotta try.
No,
you just be living your life.
It don't have to have any it doesn't have to make any sense to you or in the realm of sense. It can literally be on planet fucking Mars. And white people will let you know real quick about where they think you should go.
Right. But then they snap back into it like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm an American. We don't behave that way.
Child, when I worked at Cleveland Public Theater, and I will always talk about this shit, when this white bitch that is named after a fairy decided that and would forget in the meetings that she done slammed both her hands on the table, that she done threw the chair across the room, that she done slammed the door, that she done got so close to your face that if you even moved a microcentimeter that her pointing finger would be up your nose giving you a lobotomy. Ooh. But you as a black person, you gotta sit here.
I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a damn about that. Once you get in my face, it's a wrap.
And they get and they love to point and they get to pointing them fingers. I'd be like, oh child, I'm about to break.
That's my trigger. That is my trigger. Bitch, if we are arguing, we in a heated discussion, keep your hands at your side or get far away from me so I'm not threatened by that finger. Back up.
Ooh, child. But this is what happens. And I think this, bringing it back in after the deliberation.
Yeah.
They are all pleading their cases and coming up with the rationale behind like who should go home. And
it was such bullshit.
It was all bullshit. But Silky was the one who gave these hard truths, right? Like, Akira placed her and Silky in the bottom, which I thought was so stupid. And we're gonna talk about. We're going to get into this.
Oh, what are you doing, Akira?
First off, yeah. So anyway, Akira places her and Silky in the bottom, which to me is an act of internalized anti-blackness.
Yes.
Because why would you ever?
The
two finale queens sitting next to the girl who already done been on the show and got her second chance, Ginger Minj,
right,
and the girl who was in the bottom six of her season,
actually performed the worst,
in this episode. I don't, because at first when I was running it back with Benji, I was like, strategically, I would have sent Ginger Minj home because she's the top. Like, she's the girl could be in the finale with me.
Right.
And there's so many of us in the bottom that I could have got away with it. Right. And I would have did an excuse like, I don't think that, like, she's supposed to be the best of the best and she gives a performance like this and doesn't lead her group to success. Like, that's a big flop. And her runway was atrocious. And then it would have been rational enough that people wouldn't have come for me. Right. But in the real grand scheme of things, if you playing the game and your brain is not up your ass, Jan would have been the one eliminated.
Jan should have went home. And we're talking about should have
went home. And Akira to put her and her sister in the bottom is just no. And then Silky comes in with the actual factuals.
Right.
She's like, well, if we're going to go on that logic that you're applying, not saying that I, subscribe to your logic.
Right.
But since we're using it, there should be one more of us that is down here. Because my critique was identical to Jan's.
Yeah.
And if track record comes into play, in the history of Drag Race, I'm the better competitor.
There we go.
Jan was so far away from a finale that she'd need binoculars to see. You know what I'm saying? But Silky tasted it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She was at the hem. And then Jan was like, well, I will say that you're coming for me. And that was almost a little. That was, to me, that was the moment that would have been like, you nigger bitch.
Yes, that was it. That and thank you for pointing that out. That was when her that American middle class politeness culture. That's when the tick came and that's when the switch came and she was like, oh bitch, you trying to come for me, you fat nigger bitch. Like that was literally that is literally what she was given. Even though you did the worst in the challenge and you had a terrible runway, in my opinion.
A lot of people agreed that runway was very poor. Like the pit stop, Trixie didn't like that look, and neither did Heidi and Claudette. Now, neither of these girls are necessarily fashion queens, but they are professional drag queens, and Trixie's the top in the game. So, not that means much of whatever, but I'm just saying she is the one. She is placed as an authority on drag,
right?
And she didn't see it for the look. And I thought the look was pretty. I thought it was a good put together outfit, but I wasn't gagging.
Different fabric, different hair. Like that sporty fabric in that gown just did not curl all the way. Oh, like I was like, this don't make sense.
It's just not gagging.
Like,
it wasn't gagging.
It don't make
but
sense.
But then Silky came out and people, it makes me so disappointed, and I'm like get a little misty about it because Silky took every single critique that they got on their season and applied it to the package that they brought with them. And if people are paying attention to it, they notice. But Silky's padding is different. Mm-hmm. Silky's corseting is different. I have never seen Silky shape her body that way. And I don't think that a drag queen necessarily has to be stacked like that. But Silky is pulling that waist all the way in, and that hip to ass matches. Like, you know how she be saying like her booty on her front?
Yeah.
Not this season.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right.
She is stacked all the way out. The makeup's right. The hair is right. Mm-hmm. Everything looks pristine, and she is pumping down that runway. She also I have never seen Silky wear such high heels. Those shoes that she had underneath all that fringe, if you peeked at that shoe, that bitch had on a stiletto. Okay, stilettos pumps up in the club. Okay,
come on, cry out.
All right, so but when she presented the rationale, everybody looked at her as if like that wasn't, and then still felt that she had to apologize for her actions and then reach out and give physical proximity to whiteness. Like, Jan, come hug me. Right. You know, like, it's okay. I don't want you to think, because, you know, not, and she just said, because, you know, everybody go say. Right. Everybody go say.
Right. Which also happened with Kennedy Davenport. Right. She came, well, I think I was watching Work the World.
Joseph Shepard. Oh, okay.
Maybe it wasn't that interview, but I was watching Work the World. Her episode on Work the World. Well, I don't think it was her episode. I think she was just in it. You know, when they go to the gig and all the queens show up, they do the little cameo on each other's episodes. And she was like, "Oh, girl, they don't think I'm mean again. They gon' like." She like, "Let me be nice. They're gonna read me for being mean again." When Kennedy was just being honest, right? She was being a person with human emotions, right? What whiteness does, but since we're talking about Drag Race, what the white fandom does on Drag Race is they pick for the black contestants. They pick apart every aspect of their personality and dissect it to a microscopic level to police their behavior, right? Which is racist as fuck. I know people don't identify that as racist, but it absolutely is.
Well, we're here to tell you that it is.
That it is, right? But they don't do the same for the white queens and sometimes the other queens of color. Again, and we talked about this last week when Alyssa Edwards came back. It wasn't like, "I was so mean on my season, let me clean it up." Right? It wasn't that. No. Right? Jan acknowledged that she was on 10 and how she was trying to dial it down, but hasn't really dialed it down. Still makes it everything about herself. Like we seen in the preview for next week, how she's talking about, "Well, I don't believe I should be in the bottom." Like, you actually should have went home, girl.
And Kyria had to let her know, "Girl, you was in the bottom."
Yeah, you were there right with me.
Well, in Untucked, they revealed all the lipsticks.
Okay, break this. I didn't watch Untucked, y'all, so break it down for me.
The only lipsticks that were pulled were Kyria and Silky. And Silky, I think, lost by one lipstick. And the thing that almost made me like burst into tears is that Kyria voted for Silky and Silky voted for Kyria, because they had created this like, this is what happened. Kyria is trying to make her voting fit into the mainstream narrative that the show would agree with. Right. And bitch, they not on the show. You are. The show. And I would have sent Jan home.
Absolutely.
Because it was so many of y'all in the bottom that the votes is really split up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I would have been making some bitches vote for Jan.
Absolutely.
I would have been having, it's a way that you have that conversation to make bitches vote for Jan.
Right.
Okay. And I would have never placed myself in the bottom because Absolutely it makes not. People see you as a bottom.
Right.
Because this is what happened with Scarlet Envy and Raja O'Hara had a little moment in Untucked, which is in the grand scheme happened in the time that you see on the show that we don't get recorded.
Right.
And they were talking about, Raja pretty much was like, there was no way in hell, Raja and Scarlet are like, there was no way in hell that I was ever going to vote for a season 11 girl if it was people that were not season 11 girls.
Right.
Like, it is what it is.
Right.
But Scarlet was like, they put themselves in the bottom. What do I do now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't going to play fair. You know what I'm saying? Right. I was going to play my version of fair. But y'all done said this, so now I got to do this.
What am I to do?
What am I to do? So Scarlet and Raja voted for each one voted for a different one of the girls. You know what I'm saying? So if you had played your game right, it would have been Ginger and Jan being the ones that are being picked.
Right, because you already had two girls on your side.
Right, but you've played into the game. But this is that conversation where we're talking about, like, the fact of the matter is that you cannot play the game.
Yeah, this is a psychological warfare of
That's
racism,
what I'm saying.
white supremacy.
It is a psychological warfare of racism, and it is a game that you cannot win. The game is unwinnable.
So don't play it.
It's the only way. And this is what therapists tell you when you work with a narcissistic, abusive parent. They tell you don't play the game. When you in a relationship that's like that, any mental health professional will tell you that the way to win the game is to not play it. You know?
And they played right. Mainly a carrier, but played
right into it. And then they picked each other as if it was biblical.
As if it was the only option.
You know, as if it was like part of the covenant. Like, this must be.
You can't send the white bitch home now. It gotta be
everybody go think of us now. Well, ain't nobody gonna think much of you if they don't remember you if you ain't on the damn show.
Yeah, if you go home episode 3, they ain't gonna think much of you at all because you weren't here that long.
That's the case. We should have left Serena Cha-Cha here. And that's my logic behind it. And also, I would have not ever thought that with so many of us in the bottom to send my girl home.
Absolutely not. Bitch.
Now, if it had been my girl and then the person who was primed to win and we were like at the top 4 and I might get got because I did some shit.
No, that's different. But it's still what, 12, 11 of y'all here?
Okay.
And it's 4 of y'all on the bottom.
But you telling me it's me, you, Shay in the bottom and some other bitch? I'm about to vote for any of us.
And I was going to ask you a question, like, because the same thing happened last week with Ginger and Jiggly. Right? She
didn't need to vote for Jiggly. Jiggly had enough votes.
I would not. I don't give a damn, especially not early in the competition. I am not voting for my friend. Like, maybe we built different. I don't know. But if that bitch did not colossally fuck up, like, if she, like, you have to come out with a Lala Ree fit. Like the fit she made because her other costumes were actually really good, but like you got to like tape some bags on the corset, and then maybe I can think about voting for you. But I am not voting for my friend.
You would have had to forgot your wig, not did your eyebrows.
Yeah, you had to fuck up massively for me to vote for you. I'm not voting my friend. I'm not voting off my friend. I'm just not.
Especially not. We're not even at the halfway mark. And y'all know they about to bring back all these girls.
There's still 11 of y'all, and it was 4. There was 2 other choices.
I would have never. But again, this is what it does. It pits us against each other. This is that horizontal. This is a very, very small example to me of like horizontal violence.
Yeah.
Where
lateral violence.
You know, just like us against each other because the proximity is there, and it done made us believe that that the war is against me and you.
Right. I hate the saying, but that crabs in the barrel saying, right. And it's sometimes said in bad faith, but that is a weapon of white supremacy, right? To make it seem like it's me versus you, even though when it should be us versus them.
Yeah. And Rue, not that it matters for anything because like you put her in the bottom, but like when Silky was voted off, Rue gasped. Rue don't let that out all the time.
Right.
Especially in season 13. In season 13, Rue was like, bye, bitch.
But yeah, RuPaul is sometimes very stoic, but when it's queens he actually likes, like you can tell. Right. He actually likes Silky. I think
Silky is his style of drag. Like that whole like very like gown pageant, looking like a girl, being put together, being pulled up, being smart and intelligent. Like that's really Rue's vibe. Like Rue really leans to that type of drag. That's why a drag artist like Jada can do so well on the show. That's why a drag artist like Bibi Zahara Benet can win the show. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
This is why Tyra Sanchez won the show.
Right.
This is what Rue sees as high drag.
Yeah. And then you have Jan.
I mean, at this point, it's just kind of like, turn on the water, wash your hands, get them under the dryer. Maybe put some lotion in between, and then you just move on.
Yeah,
like we done took the shit, get off the pot. The issue is that we're going to continue to see this throughout the season. And I'm very interested, and well, I mean, it keeps the bills paid. I guess the podcast is going, but like we're going to see this continue, right?
Yeah,
because it has been set up like this from the start, and that is very disappointing. I would like to bring up one more point from Untucked.
Okay.
Raja and Scarlett are having this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the producers is probably like, okay, it's time to have that conversation. And Raja is pretty much like pleading with Scarlett and apologize. Pretty much like, we've worked so hard on our friendship. I hope you've seen the growth in me. Like, I hope you've seen that I'm changed. I'm not angry. I'm not projecting. I'm not like, they have pathologized her blackness so much that she is using medical terminology.
Yeah.
Psychiatric medical terminology.
Very clinical.
It's giving clinical depression.
Yeah.
It's giving,
Right. But
it's giving syndrome.
Externally influenced clinical depression, right?
Okay. It's giving very syndrome, very diagnosis.
Yeah.
Okay. DSM 69. Okay. Like I don't, and then the litmus for how well you have succeeded is Scarlett telling you that they see the change in you, that you're doing well. Why do you don't need that? You doing well. You won a challenge. You won a lip sync against Brooklyn Heights, and you've been in the top for 3 consecutive weeks.
Yeah. Why do you need this white person to validate you? But and I also want to like, because we see this a lot in interracial friendships too, and relationships, romantic, sexual. Me apologizing for my blackness is the foundation of our relationship.
Yep.
Right. I have to continuously, one, acknowledge that I'm an angry black man, and I have to continue to seek your validation, and that is the crux of our friendship. And when I stop looking for that, we are no longer friends, right?
Or you're confused.
Why are you not?
What's going on? Like, is everything okay? Like, I'm just like, da-da-da-da.
We haven't talked in a minute. What's going on?
And then every one of your emotions, every one of your moods, every one of your normal human existence things that they also do become directly correlated to your blackness, right?
Right.
And then therefore it's like a never-ending conflict.
Yeah. Not human, not a person, pathologized.
Girl, you about to make me cry on the podcast. It's like, and you just try, as individuals that exist in the world the way that you and I do.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where we are in proximity to people that are not like us.
Yeah.
Right? And if the world existed as it should, we'd have all types of friends and family that look a lot of different ways. Right? But like, occasionally, and we talked about this when we dealt with Miss Juneteenth, about how the anti-black conditions of the world made it difficult for us, even when we tried our very hardest to put intentionality behind it, to exist in space with our people, to collaborate. In fact, there were people who were like us that were voting for us to fail.
Yeah, actively working against us and what we were trying to do.
And then there were white people who showed up for us in big ways that were necessary. And this is not giving any kudos to white people. Like this was our work and due diligence, our having to barter and something is still, there's something an exchange.
Right.
But to take it as far as to, pretty much what I'm saying is I be tired. Like if it's not one thing, it's another. You can't, it's just, and this is why we kind of here doing what we're doing. Like you said something to me when we talked about, me and Avery sometimes have conflict. And but we were talking about mixed Juneteenth and just like the workload that we had, and it was just a lot going on, tensions were high and we were busy as fuck. And you were just like, my goal is to be that boss bitch and to get a couple people free, but I am not about to rackle myself up in the process, And
you ain't gonna worry me today. All right.
So I feel that, and this is what I'm hoping that, I think more of the queens are starting to look at things differently.
Yeah.
We're seeing those conversations. We're seeing people starting to call a thing. We're seeing drag queens and people in industry, people that exist in spaces in the world, really start to show up. So maybe even from listening to our podcast, shout out, hey Race Chaser, we saw y'all. Follow us on Instagram. We back for season 2. And I truly believe that the work that we're doing is being seen, and that it is having an effect that is positive. So that's that. Hopefully next week we'll be having a different conversation and they'll do something like girl. But yeah. I'm watching the clock, y'all, so we can keep y'all in a good time and keep us in a good time.
Right.
But we do need to take a brief break.
Yes.
And when we come back, we'll wrap up the conversation about fatphobia and then do a quick review of the episode. And we'll see you in a minute. Hey everybody, welcome back to Drag from the Left, your weekly digital series where we review RuPaul's Drag Race. Well, not review anymore, more like discuss RuPaul's Drag Race and dissect relevant social issues from a radical leftist perspective. I am your hostess with the mostest, the very Reverend Dr. Juanita Bind'Em.
And I am Avery. My drag name this week is Tired.
Cause I was tired.
I'm tired, child. I'm just tired.
So these fucking commercials is happening, and they got people say that we be going too far and just finding these little things everywhere. But Eureka's scene where she's possessed felt fatphobic to me. It was like they were like demon. It was legitimately demonizing fatness.
Yes, I felt the same way. I was like, but the fact that Eureka's a demon pretty tracks because she's a demon. And when
if it head spin around, then.
RuPaul said, "Have you ever been possessed by a demon?" I said out loud in my living room, "The racist one, the racist demon she's been possessed by."
Child.
Girl, but yeah, I think their commercial was. I think they were all good. There were some decent ones, and there were some that were really good. Well, one decent one that was really good, one kind of in the middle. But I think theirs was the least entertaining of the three.
But they didn't really sell a product.
Yeah, and I love me some Sonique and Scarlett. They might be. They're teetering on the edge of entering the few white queens that I go for.
The three.
Well, I only have two in an honorable mention. And we talked about this. Detox. My honorable mention is Alaska. And who's the other
See, you don't even remember.
For?
See?
Who won season 10? Why is her name escaping me?
Aquaria.
Yes, I love Aquaria. But those are the two white Ru girls I go up for. The only two. Right, but Sonique and Scarlett might be etching into that small sorority of girls. We'll see. Something about Scarlett politically, I do not trust, but she hasn't really done or said anything problematic yet. So
that we can see. And right. I'd appreciate if you just keep it.
Yeah, keep it cute, girl. Keep turning this runway out and stay on mute. All right.
What is your call out this week?
So I usually try to keep it confined to what happens on the show, right? Because if we can talk about anything, we don't have to follow the season. We can just come in here and talk about whatever,
which we will do in between seasons. Right. So stick around.
But this has been a heavy news week. There's a lot of fuck shit that's been happening. From the Olympic trials to Bill Cosby to Meghan McCain to there's just so much that happened this week. It was a very heavy,
the ocean is on fire.
Yeah, the whole West Coast is on fire.
The Gulf of Mexico is they're
burning.
They're in boats squirting water into the water trying to make
when people say we are in hell, I'm like, we got people dying of heat exhaustion. We got whole states on fire. Like, we really might be in hell, y'all.
Well, God said the second time he wasn't gonna use water,
right? And I was like, so we gonna do fire now? I'm like, I would rather. Well, I don't know. Those are both bad ways to go. But anyway, I want to talk about Jasmine Masters really quickly. if you've been following the news, this has been a heavy news story since it happened. Bill Cosby, his sentence has been overturned, or his conviction has been overturned. I think that's the proper way to say it. And he has been released from prison. You know, he was convicted for, I don't know how many counts of sexual assault or the intent to, you know, sexually assault people. But on a technicality, which is what the law is, which is what the criminal injustice system is.
It's all a technicality.
Yeah. On a technicality, his lawyers were able to get him released. Right. So a lot of people, no, it's kind of like hot and cold. Either like you vehemently like disagree with this and you think it's disgusting and you loving on survivors in your life right now, which is what we are doing. Or if you're a survivor, you're trying to love on yourself as much as possible. Because this is triggering. Or you're on the opposite end of that, like, oh yeah, my nigga Heathcliff Huxtable is free, who is not a real person, by the way. So we've seen a lot of ignorant takes from a lot of people that we respect, like Timberland, like Felicia Rashad, which really hurt me, but she has always been a supporter of Bill Cosby.
I mean, he must know something.
He must got something on. What he got on you, girl?
Because
blink twice.
Okay, let us know.
But yeah, even when it first happened, she came out in support of him and condemning some of the women that came forward, right? But in the realm of Drag Race, Jasmine Masters also has something to say.
Ooh, child.
I think this was on Facebook, this screenshot. And then posted to Instagram. So she really felt her oats on this one. She said, this is verbatim, I'm going to read it. LOL gays, are you pissed that Bill is coming home? Well, let's go down your past, because either you were underage and having sex with someone old, she said old, but I think she meant older, having sex with someone older than you, or you now are sleeping with someone, you now are sleeping with these young boys who's not of age. So what do you want? So how do you want this to play this? Because there's a lot of typos in here. How do you want to play this? Because we know the story of the lifestyle. Okay, so there was almost a point nestled in here. But I hate the let's try to justify one person's horrible actions because we have another problem going on within our community, right? There was almost a point nestled in here, but it was a wrong time to bring it up for you to justify your support of Heathcliff. Well, let me start for Bill Cosby, right? There is an issue within specifically gay male culture. It's not uniquely our issue, but it is, A1. In gay male culture where there is
rampant sexual misconduct.
In this case, the form of older and grown ass adults going after very young people or people that are
very vulnerable populations,
or just crossed the threshold of adulthood, will be deemed adulthood in America.
What they say,
18, 19.
Barely legal is what they be saying.
Literally, right? Or sometimes as young as 16, because that is the age of consent, and this is all in air quotes, y'all. The age of consent in a lot of states. It's the age of consent in Ohio. So that is the issue. That's something we should address. That's something we can talk about. That is a massive part of rape culture in our communities, right? But to use that to somehow justify your support of Bill Cosby being released from prison, although he admitted to raping a bunch of these women or had the intent, drugged them and had the intent of having sex with them, but you can't have sex with someone who cannot consent, not sex, so rape. That is rape. Right. We need to change our language on that. Sex is consensual, and if it's not consensual, it's no longer sex. Right. There are very few things that are black and white, but in this case, that is black and white. It's either sex and consensual, or it's not, and it's sexual misconduct. It is sexual assault. Right. So this is very, very disgusting, Jasmine. I don't know what the fuck you was thinking.
She be smoking too much fucking weed. I don't understand.
That's not an excuse, and it's not justification, girl.
You need to stop, child, that mid bag, girl. Right. What is up with you?
And if you can understand the rampant sexual misconduct within our communities, how can you not understand this man who has raped dozens of women, who has drugged dozens of women and admitted as much to it? Let's not forget, this is the only reason why his conviction was overturned, is because he admitted in the deposition that he did these things, right? And the agreement with the prosecutor was that if he is truthful in this session, then they cannot convict him for these crimes later on. Right, but people got in their feelings. It was so emotionally charged. It was heavy politicized. It was heavy news coverage, and he did it to so many women. I think a lot of legal officials were like, "Oh no, he got to.
We got to take
this to trial." Right, forgetting what the agreement the prosecutor had made, and I'm sure that was buried from Bill Cosby's legal team.
Right.
So if he was convicted, they can quickly overturn that. It probably took them much longer than they expected, but they did what they originally intended to do. Right. So I want to keep this short, but that is disgusting. Rape apologists are a huge part of rape culture and the perpetuation of rape culture. And if you can understand the issues within our community as it pertains to sexual assault, how can you not understand the rampant sexual assault that this person has caused across decades?
So much of it is that we have been conditioned to, like, you remember that Tyler Perry movie? My mom was a junkie and a whore.
And she...
Okay.
Tyler Perry got some fucking issues, man. What's wrong with that man?
Oh, child. But
and she sold me.
Oh, God.
For $10 in a fix. I try not to laugh at that because that's not comedy. But, like...
But isn't it... But
you're going to tell her. You are going to tell her.
Isn't it comedy? Like, the things... But this is it.
Oh,
that
sorry.
it has...
God. I'm sorry. Lord have mercy. Okay, I'm back.
Darian, cut off some of this laughing. Oh, God, what is all this laughing? No, but again, these are conditions of being an oppressed person. This is what happens. Yeah. Like, well, I went through it, so you got to go through it too. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Well, it's something that happened. I don't know why ain't nobody else getting in trouble, so why he, you know, like that. And no, if we would like this to stop happening, how about that? If we like the people who it has happened to, for them to be able to live any quality of life, right? We have to start, like, bearing witness, and like, there has to be repercussions for our actions and intentionality behind, like, a transformative justice process and a restorative justice process.
Right. And let me say, like, as abolitionists, we don't fuck with prisons. Like,
yeah, I'm never happy that anybody going there, but there needs to be repercussions under this system. This is what the repercussions look like.
You had reprehensible actions, so you need equally reprehensible consequences.
I will say
my
this.
Opinion.
My grandmother said, well, she texted me and was like, "Girl, you know Bill Cosby out of jail." And I was like, "Now, you know I don't believe in no jail, but he still need to be in the jail."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well." She was like, "Well, he 80+ years old. He sits to pee. I think everybody's safe."
Oh.
But I'm saying that to say that is not an act of safety for anyone. People who commit acts of sexual violence will do so by whatever means they find necessary to do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't think his age is a good go of protection for people that he can potentially still cause harm to.
Right, and you don't have to actually do the harm to perpetuate harm.
Yeah,
you know, we talk about priming, right? And since we talk about sexual assault, this is, you know, on par. But priming is usually when an older person, a fully grown person, takes on a much younger person, and then kind of mold them to the kind of partner they want to be. Is very manipulative and you know, all those things. But that doesn't happen in sexual romantic relationships. That happens from abuser to abuser, right? You and I don't know why this just popped in my head, but the rapper Boosie is a very good example. How he had those women sexually assault his son and his nephew. Yep. You are priming, you are shaping an abuser, right? He's going to grow into a nigga like you.
Yep.
Right.
Because of the harm that you've inflicted upon them.
Right.
And that there is no current system in place to stop that from happening to them or hold them responsible for that once they do it. And then on top of that, because we live in a punishment-centered world, there's also no one to show up for the people who have caused the act of harm so that they may not continue to cause more acts of harm. It is just like, oh, God, we don't have enough time on this podcast.
Yes, it's a terrible cycle of violence.
Well, hopefully, you know, if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
This is the time in our show where we will briefly discuss the top looks of the week.
I got mine.
Oh, it is time for a speed round of Saint and Sinner. I defer to you.
Child, Scarlett ain't missed yet. Well, that blue American look she did, you know.
American looks.
Yeah, you know, triggered. But her runway this week, gorgeous, like from head to toe, hair, makeup, that dress was everything. The shoe, she ate.
Yeah,
she ate.
I have currently declared Scarlett as now there is at least one Scarlett that I like. Because Johansson is not one.
No, not you, not Black Widow.
And the Scarlet from Drag Race Down Under, nope, not a fan of that one either.
What about Scarlet Bobo from Canada?
Oh wait, I do like Scarlet Bobo. Okay, Bobo cute.
She's a cute girl.
I like Scarlet Bobo, but Scarlet Envy is an archangel this week,
baby.
Sistine, she better don't. Okay, like looking like just the most stunning fresco marble. Something it's giving Michelangelo.
Walking, talking.
It's
art.
giving Da Vinci, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Girl, she should have been like, girl, I know your team. Her team won. But I'm so happy Trinity got a win. But oh no, she was in the exercise.
She wasn't in the winning group, but Trinity did get the win. But she did a good job in her scene. That look is stunning, and it's the dress alone was enough to gag. Mm-hmm. But then the bitch hit the cape, and not only was it a cape, the cape had tassels on it like a tapestry.
Yeah, that's a dress you frame and put on.
She better fucking
put it in
frame
that
glass
case it, and you just like let it sit there and
the hues of blue and gold on that gown, and then that perfectly sculpted auburn updo, and she has a way of holding her shoulders that is just like,
oh yeah, her posture is wonderful.
It's a broomstick up her ass, because I wish I could stand that straight.
Yeah,
like she be, I'm Scott.
Right, I bet you it looks in person, it makes you look so much taller than she actually is.
Got to. Like hips are pressed forward. Hips are forward. Thighs are squeezed together. The shoulder is back. You know what I'm saying? The head is up. That string that they talk about is pulled taut.
That's training.
Okay.
She trained.
I like it. Rue gives that type of meticulous care to how they hold their posture.
Yeah.
And it pays off in presentation. It really, really does.
It does.
Because if that same garment will look different on somebody that's slouching, like a lot.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, Scarlett. You are our saint this week. What about a sinner, baby? Who's committing acts of sin?
Oh, Ginger. Once again. So, Scarlett ain't missed.
Ginger is missed every time.
Ginger is missed every single time.
3 strikes. Well, it's 3 strikes. She should be out.
She should be. She should be. She's doing well in the challenges, but these runways.
That was the worst. That was really bad.
And the delusion when they were deliberating, like, if you were judged individually, I would be in the top. With that runway, you absolutely would.
That would have automatically disqualified you from that. Also, I don't think you would have been in the top because I would have. Rue didn't ask, but if I was a judge, I'd like to know. Did anybody take on a leadership role in making this commercial? Right.
It was kind of obvious who it was, but
you would have got points taken off for being in charge. Yeah, because
you were the
mess.
leader and you failed.
Miserably.
Like, you failed and this runway sucked. While you were funny in the challenge, you were responsible for your team's
also,
loss.
she did a really good job at acting a really bad script. Like it still wasn't
a script that she made.
And a script that she like I don't understand. Like it's not. It wasn't working for me.
No, it
wasn't giving what it was supposed to have gay
at all, and it wasn't balanced. Like,
why would she think that she looked like I told Benji that she looked like a troll doll.
Yeah,
I don't. Well, that outfit. Ariel Versace wore that outfit first in pink, and it was cute. But you gotta cut the panty, like that. That leotard got to be like a string.
It looked like a diaper.
It's not. It's just no. I just was hearing like wide low. It just was not. It wasn't doing it.
I was hearing like scrunch, like it was.
And that fabric looked rough. Like it had to have been chafing and like.
Yeah,
no.
That's probably what the mental sounds I was hearing. Like,
yeah, no.
It just wasn't. It just no. But I also hated Jan's, as I talked about earlier. Like I liked her hair. I liked her wig. I will say that, but not with that.
Let's talk about Michelle pretty much telling Ginger that everything about her was horrible. It's like she's like, you dirty, ugly ass bitch. You need to go home. She's like, your makeup, you look like somebody off the Addams Family. I was like, oh
right.
My
but I
God.
also think like that should play into the competition. Ginger, you've done this twice. You are a seasoned drag queen. You are one of the more successful ones that's come out the franchise. How are you still performing on this level?
It's not okay.
When you got people like Raja and Silky and Scarlett and Sonique that's coming back in eating, like taking every critique, making sure they up on every trend and eating, right? With probably less resources. especially like someone like Silky, because she talked about, you know, how all this affected her bag and her income, right? But you have, I'm assuming, like, I'm not here to pocket watch, but I'm assuming you have a little bit more resources than everybody else. I can say the same about Eureka O'Hara. I don't like the bitch, but I'm trying to be pretty objective here. That runway,
it was the same
like
look.
every other runway that she has done on season.
Also,
11.
it wasn't far from the original look that it was supposed to be transformed from.
Right, it's supposed to be leveled up, and it looked the same.
Well, if you got a body, put a suit on it.
That's all you do, girl. Like, that's all you do. And you, and like, again, I'm not here to pocket watch, but you
on that body.
Right, they don't say that to the big girls. But you know, it needs to be said for Eureka, because all you do, y'all red Vanjie for wearing swimsuits all the time, but Eureka wears jumpsuits all of the time, and no one says anything because she's funny and somewhat likable. If you
are into that,
past our racism,
I guess, like, if you're into that, right? That's not to yuck your yums, you know, but that's not my kink.
Right.
Okay. Ooh, so the winner of this week is Trinity K. Bonet. Congratulations. Insert sound effect here. Yes. We're going to start using the sound effect.
Yeah, I want to start using it.
Yeah. So insert sound effect here. Shout out to you, Trinity K. Bonet, for your first challenge win. And you was rightfully to be in a little bit of a mood. I mean, you was doing a much, but hey, we down for doing much here.
Listen, I'm an emotional bitch too, so I felt her.
Ain't you? So congratulations on your challenge win. Your runway looked amazing, and you did a really, really good job in a challenge in which you failed miserably at before. So
yes,
congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
The lip sync assassin this week is none other than Laganja Estranja.
I am, yes, mama.
I am, yes, God, and I come flying out of the ceiling to land on my little twat.
Because I'm extra and I do the most at every time.
Child, you would have thought it was the Laganja Estranja show, but you know what? Which do you, girl? Now we're going to talk about the lip sync.
Let's
very
please
briefly
talk about the lip sync, because I have feelings.
So the song is "Physical" by Dula Peep.
A very good lip sync song.
A very, very good lip sync song. First off, Trinity looks amazing.
And I was gonna say her performance look and wig. Everything.
That wig, I want the wig. The outfit was cute. It was giving me very 80s jazzercise, but like modern drag queen esque. And she changed her whole face. That is a whole entire different makeup look. How did she have time? It takes me so long to do eyeshadow. I don't know how this bitch did a whole new cut crease, blended 3 different colors, matted that face down, changed the lip, adjusted the highlight and the contour, and put on a new lash. I do not understand.
She's a professional. She custom hose out and changed her whole face, wig, and outfit. And the wig did not come loose, not even a little bit.
And then her titties, oh my God, her breastplate, when her outfit started coming up and her breastplate was showing, I was like, oh, this look like real titties. She got a good titty, because you know Tamisha. That's another thing I like Tamisha, because Tamisha had that good breastplate. I don't know how her titties look like titties, and they match her skin tone.
Them look like that is her. That is growing out of her chest.
Very different than Yara's titties, but child. But
because she retired those already, it was funny the first time.
So of course, Laganja Estranja pulls tricks, stunts, and shenanigans before the lip sync even starts. And in the words of Trinity K. Bonet, that first stunt don't count. Right. How do you feel about a high stunt, high trick lip sync performance versus a lip sync performance that, and I'm not saying like kicks and dips versus nothing. I'm not saying doing the Charlie Hyde. You know what I'm saying? But I guess a more well-rounded lip sync performance that really performs the song. Like, to you, which one is the winner for you?
So I'm gonna read this tweet that I saw yesterday, I think. Their profile name is duly noted, but it's spelled Dooley noted.
Got it.
Which is really cute. And they tweeted, I really want the fans I really want to free hashtag Drag Race viewers from the idea of a bunch of stunts strung together as a lip sync. Spins, dips, etc. are supposed to enhance the performance, not define it. Do you know your words? Did you emote? Did you help us feel the song? Or did you just throw your body around for 4 minutes? Right. And I replied to that, and I was like, this was still early on Thursday, so I didn't want to spoil it. But I said that's exactly why Redacted should have won this week's lip sync instead of Redacted, meaning this is why I felt Trinity should have won this week instead of Laganja. It's the same thing with reveals. Reveals are supposed to work with your performance. It's supposed to be a part of the narrative, a part of a story.
Right.
That's the same thing with splits, dips. It's supposed to enhance. It's supposed to be a part of a narrative. It's supposed to be a part of a journey that she'll take us on. That is the art of lip syncing, and that is an art that Trinity has perfected at this point, not only on the show, but on her virtual shows and her live shows. Like, she takes us on, and we saw that this week. She takes us on a trip, right? She either tells a story or she emotes so much that
so
we
much
feel
emotion.
like we are at that concert. Bitch, when she did I Every Woman, we felt like we were there at a Chaka Khan performance.
For me, I appreciate the athleticism that is involved in what Laganja does.
Yeah, and she does it well.
Like, and she's a good dancer. Like the leg is turned out, the foot is pointed, the leaps are high, the splits are low. That there's never a crunchy split. And she has a pretty good dip, but like, it was just it was chaotic to me.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
The moves did not go with the songs, and she was missing her lyric. And I think really, really good lip sync has to do with lip syncing.
Yeah. Like
to be on top of the words. And Trinity is always on top of the words. Mm-hmm. And she was Toomblé, Potter Beret, Sashay, Step, Leap, and across the stage. Like, it was giving me, let's get physical. Like, literally. I felt like I was getting physical, like I was jazzercised. You know that movie that got
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That white man was kind of cute too.
Ooh, child, with them little.
Yeah, he was doing it.
Y'all know we talking about with Jamie Lee Curtis and Homeboy.
I don't know his name, but every time I see that gif or that clip, I'm like, oh.
And they be doing them hip thrusts.
Yeah,
child, it was giving very that. So I would have given it to Trinity.
Absolutely. And like, it was a journey. She started slow.
And Laganja threw her out. She smacked the shit out of Silky with her outfit.
Child, I don't know how well I would have contained myself if I was Silky or Kiri, because I would have at least said something. Like, bitch, watch that. I understand you performing hoe, but don't get snatched.
She smacked the shit out of Silky with that damn outfit.
That's disrespectful. Like, that was unnecessary. You know them girls were sitting, you have to toss that in their face like that.
Now I will give it. Laganja had one move that I thought was really hot, and when she took off the corset into the nude illusion and then did that front tumble roll and that, she had one nice little floor body roll.
Yeah, and
then she landed on her back and was like panting, like that was hot. But Trinity really gave me, especially that slow walk in the beginning. She started off so slow,
and that look in her eyes,
she's like, "You go get into these lips, baby. I'm gonna give you this lip sync." Well, it is what it is. Next week, we will be back for another episode of Drag from the Left. Yes, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in with us for all of our shenanigans. Hey, if you aren't doing anything right now in this moment, take out your phones and follow us online on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Drag from the Left. That's DRAGFTL. You can find brand new episodes of Drag from the Left every week on Wednesday. We're streamed everywhere where podcasts are streamed: Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, as well as YouTube. And be on the lookout. We have a lot of fun surprises in store. I am your hostess with the mostest, the very Reverend Dr. Juanita Bind'Em.
And this is Avery. My drag name this week is Tired.
And we'd like to thank you for tuning in to Drag from the Left.
Bye.
See you next week.